Good evening. My name is Crystal Justiniano and I will be doing my informative speech on the Chateau of Versailles. Have you ever heard of King Louis XIV or Marie Antoinette? We'll keep those two names in mind because we will be discussing them pretty soon. Now, the Chateau of Versailles, it is located in Paris, France, and a little history behind it. In doing research for this class, I wanted to do something that had to do with castles or medieval. But for some reason this was on the list, and when I was actually doing research, this actually caught my eye because I've heard of the Chateau of Versailles, but I really have never put too much into it. And when doing research, I actually found it very, very intriguing. So in doing my research, I found out a lot of information that I did not know about the chateau. Like for instance, it used to be a hunting lodge. Who would have thought that this beautiful, amazing museum used to be used for hunting season only? King Louis XIII, back in 1629, he wanted to make it into a palace. But it wasn't until his son, Louis XIV, which he was known as the architect, he actually started building the chateau slowly. According to Catherine Davis, in her title Versailles, pages 18 through 19, she stated that he was the architect. He was the one that started making the chateau actually started to look like it. He started adding compartments to the chateau, as well as like rooms or little apartments for his servants, groundskeepers. So he started adding more and more to the chateau. King Louis the 14th also added a Grand Trianon, which is behind the gardens of Versailles. It was used for summer outings, and then not until King Louis XV, he also added what is called the Petit Trianon, which is right next door to the Grand Trianon, behind the gardens, which we will talk about that a little bit later. King Louis XV made that place for his wife. And then King Louis XVI made the Hamlet, the Queen's Hamlet, for no other than Marie Antoinette. So when she had to, she wanted to be away from the royal life, she just had a place to kind of relax and enjoy, and her and her servants would be there just to calm down a little bit when they didn't want to be part of the royal times. Napoleon actually lived there. Well, he actually stayed in the Grand Trianon in 1804. King Louis Philippe was the one that actually made it into a museum. And not until 1875 was when the French Republic were the ones that took over and started having meetings for the Senate and all that fun stuff. But, looking at the history, you would have never thought that this beautiful museum, kings and queens used to live there. So it's pretty interesting how the history behind it, comes along. And another wonderful thing is the gardens of Versailles, which you will see in my PowerPoint. These amazing gardens, they're surrounded by water features and amazing landscape. You would have never thought, wow, this place, how little by little they just made this small little place that used to be a hunting lodge, and then started adding these amazing gardens. The theme behind it was it had to do with Apollo, which was a Greek god. That was the inspiration behind the gardens. So you will see in my PowerPoints, and also a little bit about each one. The first one is the Salle de Bal, the second one the Bain d'Apollon, the third one the Colonnade, the fourth one, Les Encolades, and then the fifth one, the Char d'Apollon. You will see in my slide how beautiful each one has its own little theme, but for some reason it all falls. It has to do with Apollo, the Greek god. Another wonderful thing that I also read, it was regarding, the title is Versailles by Anthony Langdon, which was an article that I read. Just how everything, King Louis XVI had this, King Louis XIV, he had this obsession, not obsession, but he he was known as the Sun King. So that's why he used, when he started building the gardens and making everything was about Apollo, because he was known as, with Greek mythology, as the Sun King, the Water King. So that inspired him the sun god, so that inspired him to make it, because his nickname was the Sun King as well. I'm going to leave you guys with a quote. It's from King Louis IX. In order to do justice and right to thy subjects, be upright, firm, turning neither to the right hand nor to the left hand, but always to what is just, and do thou maintain the cause of the poor until such a time as the truth is made clear. So hopefully in my speech you guys have enjoyed these two wonderful points. One, the history behind the Chateau of Versailles, as well as the gardens, and you would definitely I recommend for you to do a little bit of more research as well, because this place is amazing, and I know it's on my bucket list that I definitely want to visit the Chateau of Versailles one day in Paris, France. My name is Crystal, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Good night.